Over 100 people paint this scene in watercolor. How different can they be? Which ones do you like and why? Hello, I'm Tim Wilmot, watercolor painter and tutor. I organise regular online watercolor workshops, and this is a compilation of attendee paintings from my April 2022 online watercolor workshop. So nearly every month, watercolor enthusiasts from all over the world join me for approximately a couple of hours paint-along experience where I do a step-by-step demo and answer your questions along the way. In April 2022, we painted this scene. This is Sheldon in Devon, UK. Some boats were sort of contre jour, looking into the light. My photograph was taken on a winter's day, probably around about midday-ish. And we have here a couple of quite characterful boats here, and then quite a simple background, an atmospheric sky. The beach has a lovely sort of warm color. The photograph is actually quite dark, so in the demo I went a little bit lighter. But as per my usual style, I kept things fairly loose, trying to keep the simple and loose. I'll show you now my painting, my meager effort on the day. As you can see, I went quite a bit lighter with my version, kept the background very simple, tried to have that atmospheric sky, mixture of edges in there as well in the sky, soft edges around the darker bits of the clouds, some hard edges with a little bit of bright blue sky showing, brightening it up with light hitting the tops of different objects, the top of the quayside, the tops of the boats, a little bit of light hitting the rigging, and some shadows coming out from the boats. The sea over to the left, very simple, just a small part of the overall scene. And then trying to also capture a little bit of the character of the beach, all those different hues and colors in that beach, oranges, reds, lighter colors, darker colors, a little bit of light. It's actually quite lighter over onto the right-hand side, but a bit darker down the bottom left-hand side, and strewn with lots of little bits of shingle and shells and so on. So that's my painting. Let me take you through the attendee paintings one by one. I'll give a short critique on each. Hopefully lots of positive things, maybe some things in my opinion, and it is my opinion, other people may disagree with my comments, but just in my opinion, maybe what could be improved on that interpretation of this scene in Sheldon, Devon, UK. A dull day, a dull winter day, but a bright light coming towards us, trying to make a darker scene just a little bit brighter. First up is Alexander. Good placement of those boats. Let me just zoom in a little bit more. There we go. Good placement of the boats. Now that background may be a little bit too detailed. The trees are all similar. And also the shape of the background is following, if you like, the shape of the boats in the foreground. So I would say, Alexander, just try and keep the background a bit like that. Don't follow the shape of those boats, all right? And keep it nice and simple. Great colors on the beach though. Fantastic boats. Well done. Yeah, and lots of softness in those clouds. You've certainly got an atmospheric sky in there. Thanks very much, Alexander. And Alice. Well, lots of darks in this one. Contrast between the darker areas and the lighter areas, which always works really well with watercolor. The light hitting the tops of different objects. Certainly captured that moody sky. Bit of softness there. Wet in wet, I guess, was used for that. Lovely light coming through on the right-hand side. You can feel the light coming through on the right with that lighter area over there. superbly painted boats. Maybe the back of this boat, the transom, would be just a little bit darker, perhaps, with the light coming from that direction. And also maybe the transition of the water to the beach, perhaps just a little bit more of a gradual transition from one to the other. I actually quite like the little ways in which the watercolor is bleeding into the sand colours, bleeding into the water. That's very effective. Yeah, well done, Alice. Thank you very much. And next is Alicia, I think. Lovely sky. That is a really nice sky. Just the right sort of blue there. You've got the different edges. Background trees might be just a little bit too harder edged. Those trees just a little bit too detailed, but they are nice trees. Maybe with the shadows here, there could be, rather than these individual brush strokes coming from the boat, just thinking about the shape of the shadows coming from the boat. Maybe, perhaps you might have gone over these shadows a couple of times. Try and do those shadows in one go if you can. But those boats are superbly drawn and painted. I particularly like that boat and the detail in that bungalow, this small house just behind the harbour wall. Very, very nice. Yes, well done, Alicia. Thank you. And Barb. Lots of lovely contrasts of warm and cool. I particularly like the splattering effect, Barb, that you've got on the beach there. Very effective. Superbly done, and a very atmospheric sky as well. I like the effect just up there on that cloud there. That sort of radiating effect of those little lines. Maybe it was the angle of your paper or the direction of the brush mark to get that. Just a little faint line there, and then it becomes all dense a little bit further away from the source of the light. Nice hard edge with the sky. Now the boats may be just a little bit too stubby. They could be a little bit longer and thinner, perhaps, just a tiny bit. But other than that, particularly well drawn. Yeah, nice one, Bob. Thank you. And Becky. Now, I should say that some of the photographs being sent in, they may be a little bit dark, and I bet the camera has made them a little bit, the photographs actually made them a little bit darker than the actual. I think this might be the case with this one. I'm sure this is a lot brighter than this. It looks a little bit dark over on the left-hand side. Anyway, we can see what's going on. Great sky. The background might be just a little bit overworked, but it's a good background. Just ease off on the white paint. Don't use too much white paint, but I think you might have got away with it. Lovely boats. Be careful of too many darker lines in there on the sides of the boat. A little bit too dark. If they were just maybe a little bit lighter, that would work better. Good texture on the beach. Lots of lovely colours, warms and cools. Yeah, very nice. Well done, Becky. And Betty. Now, Betty, you've got a lot of light into this, and also a fair bit of detail with those houses in the background. Works well. The background trees, yes, they're all right, but they're just a tiny little bit overworked, maybe in places. I would try and keep that background simple, but coming closer towards us, there are a few smaller houses just behind the harbour. Works well. You've got those in, and I can see some figures as well sat up on the benches. The boats. Now this boat here, the nearest one, very, very good. Not so sure about the one behind it. It looks a little bit too short. I think it could be coming out a little bit longer. I know you've then got the extra space to play with, and you can put in little rocks and things out there just near the water's edge. But yeah, that back boat could be just a little bit longer. Nice colour on the beach, a nice light scene. You've gone for more of a bright day, but not so bright that it's creating some dark shadows. So that nice sort of low light conditions that we often get in the UK. Anyway, superb boat, well done. Betty and Bob, let's just zoom into Bob's. Yeah, nice composition, nice sky. Maybe the clouds could be just a little bit dark in a few places. With the trees in the background, maybe make them a little bit more solid, Bob. These trees on the left-hand side, a little bit better. We don't want to make them too palm tree-like. We do have a few palm trees in the UK, but it's not that exotic, if you like, the foliage on the background in that particular location. With the sea, that could be a little bit darker, just to give, it's just a little bit too bright, too perfect a blue, that sea. Could be a little bit dirtier. The boats are very well painted. I like them. The near boat, brilliant. You've gone for that green, a little bit of a green there instead of the blue. That works well. I like that green. Very, very nice. And you've got a bit of that sort of rusty coloration on the sides of the boats. Good shadows. Lovely beach as well. The way that you've done the beach, all sorts of different shades of, warm shades of reds and oranges in there. And the light hitting that small building behind the harbour wall. Brilliant. Yeah, well done, Bob. Thank you. And Bronwyn. Let's zoom in here. Right. Well, it's a softer, this one. Not too many darks. We've got that atmospheric sky. That sky is brilliant. I like that little bit of light area there with the hard edge around it. Yeah, certainly that my eyes go there rather than that blue patch up in the middle portion. Background, just the right value. Yes, works well. Maybe that waterline there could be a little bit more horizontal, just a tiny bit. And then coming closer to us, very good boats. I would go with a harder edge at the top there. A few harder edges as we come towards us. Keep the soft stuff in the background. These near stuff, we could go with a harder edge there. Boats are pretty good. Yeah, very nice, and nice beach as well. With the shadows, now if the light is there, sort of up there somewhere, then think about the lines of shadows. So that's all right there. But over here, there would be more like that. So that boat might be, do you see what I mean? So taking the light and then the direction of the light and thinking where the edges of those shadows are going to be. Lovely beach. Yeah, nice few dry brush marks as well. Different watercolor techniques going on there. Well done. Thanks, Bronwyn. And Calvin. Well, typical Calvin style. Actually, Calvin style works really well here. That softness, definitely got a bit of a sea mist going on. Lovely background, lovely harbour wall. Nice and simple is Calvin style. Very good boats, Calvin. I particularly like the more distant boat. That's very well done. Now the lady, from a perspective point of view, and I know you always like including your ladies there with the wide-brimmed hat, but maybe that lady could be, thinking about perspective, maybe she could be a little bit up here. So the hat here, perhaps, and the long flowing dress, something like that. Thinking about the size of the figure and its placement. So that might be the kind of eye level, possibly, could be even a little bit higher. I think that figure just needs to be a little bit higher. Yeah, a nice soft interpretation of the scene. Yeah, I particularly like those background hills, very atmospheric. Beautiful. Well done, Calvin. Thank you. And Chada. Well, a lot of impact in this. A great background. Lovely sky. That sky is fantastic. Bit of softness over there. Just little details like that. I know it's on the left-hand side, but that's lovely, the way that you're transitioning from the sky to the distant sea and then the nearby sea. Nice and loose. The boats, Now, this nib, so the distant boat looks all right, but this boat near us, maybe the window is a little bit too big, or you could have dragged the tarpaulin cover over that. Perhaps the cabin needs to be a little bit more slanted down there, and maybe the bow of the boat a little bit wider, just a tiny bit wider. But other than that, boats are brilliant. Nice beach, nice transition of the hull to the shadows. Yeah, well done, Chada. That's a lovely painting, particularly good sky background and the sea over there on the left. Very loose. And all the colours that you've got in there, blues and greens. Excellent. Thanks, Chada. Ching. Yeah, I like the way that we're being drawn into the scene with those strong lines that we've got leading us into those boats. Those two boats are very good. Maybe the more distant boats are a little bit too deep. I was going to say, is that white paint or is it white paper? No, I think it's white paper. I was going to say that just ease off on the use of white paint, but I don't think you've done that. I think it's a superb bit of negative painting. The background, let's see if we can zoom out a little bit. Background is lovely. The sky, fantastic. You've got the mixture of soft and hard edges. The clouds are very convincing. I like that hard edge there. We've got a bit of darkness to the right, and then that hard edge with a lighter bit of cloud to the left. And you've included that little boat that we spotted in the photograph. The sea looks very good as well. Maybe a little bit overworked there. Oops. There on that corner. That could be maybe just, it looks a little bit overworked that side, but it's way over there on the left. You'd hardly notice it. Very nice little markings. There's a bit of rust coming down the sides of the boats. You've indicated that with those dry brush marks. Yeah, very good shadows, nice beach color. Well done, Ching. Thank you. Let's go to the next one. And Christy, just before I start with Christy's, if you want to take part in these workshops, you'd be very welcome. All levels of watercolor painter are invited, and more details, just go to either of my two websites, timwilmot.com or timwilmotartist.com, and also the event site is at crowdcast.io/Tim Wilmot, TIMWILMOT. Right, Christy. Yeah, you've got a different effect with the clouds. You've gone from a very much brighter day. I think that works. I love those clouds. You've got the difference of soft and hard edges. Boats are very well done, especially the more distant boat. I like the little bit of detail you've got there on the back of the cabin, the way it comes out, and then it sort of curves around a bit down to the hull. And you've certainly got the feeling of the old weathered two main boats there. And you've included a couple of other boats as well. That's a lovely one there. And you've got, with the angle of that boat, we're sort of indicating a bit of the gradient of that beach. Nice light on the beach, nice colour, shadows, soft edge to the shadows. Yeah, beautiful. And two nice sort of cottages behind the harbour wall. Yeah, excellent. Well done, Christy. Thank you. And I think we might have a few Daves and Davids. So this is Dave. Yeah, I think we've got 3 Davids coming along. So this is Dave J. Hopefully I get them all around the right way. Now you've tilted that boat just a little bit towards us. Well done. And it works really well. Maybe the boat looks a little bit wider, but it's certainly got a very good shape to it. I like this nearby boat. And then you've got that upturned boat just to the right of it, well placed for the composition. The sky, very nice. background, cliff tops, very nice as well. Nice touch with the birds. With the water, maybe I would have less of the waves, less of those white areas. I would maybe just tone those down a bit, or maybe not have so many. My eyes keep going over there, whereas I want the main focus to be somewhere around here. Perhaps it could be perhaps a little bit more light on that one. You've got lovely light on this one, Dave, but maybe just a bit more on that one. But two very nice boats and very nice shadows, lovely beach. Well done. And then just plain Dave on this one. Oh, I like the mount, the seagrass or raffia mount. Very, very nice. Right, Dave's painting. So you're sort of standing back a little bit more on this one, where we've got the boats slightly smaller in size, but it still works from a composition point of view. Not so sure about that lighter building there on the top of the hill. And as I'm zooming in, I notice those little white birds. That's very effective. It's seagulls, of course, gives it more of an authentic look. Lovely sky, very nice sky. Boats are very good. Yeah, I mean, you nothing wrong with you going for that slightly smaller size of boats, and then you've got more space to play with the water. I think that sea looks all right, actually. Perhaps there could be a little bit more of a darker wave here, just to give it a bit more of a sort of movement to the water. The beach looks good, like the little bits of little stones and pebbles catching the light. Just zoom in a bit more. There we are, a little bit of light there and a bit of darkness. So where, this might be white paint, but where you might have a little bit of paper showing through, I don't know whether it's the case on Days, but you can always use that on a rocky shore or a sandy beach, just to create a little rock or a pebble like that by putting a bit of shadow behind it. Well done, Dave and David. Yeah, maybe we haven't got that colourful beach, but it works well. I would say the background is just a little bit overworked. I would try and do it all in one, David, if I were you. The sky, you've gone for lighter sky, nothing wrong with that. The building, perhaps that building could be just a little bit darker, just a tiny bit darker with the walls, but good colouring, a good value on the rooftop. The boats are very well drawn. I like the tarpaulin on the nearby boat. That for me is a little bit of a focal point. It's so well done. These sort of ribs, these ridges here going up, and then you've got the shade, of course, darker shade, and it comes a little bit lighter as it comes towards the next ridge. Then dark, a little bit lighter towards the next one. Yeah, very, very nice indeed. And I like the beach here. Certainly this looks quite sandy. Not so sure, David, about these darker marks here. Don't think it needed it. Maybe just a smoother curve for the water's edge would have sufficed on that one. Thanks, David. Nice one. And Diana. Well, it's a lively picture. The boats are, they've got a certain style about them. I quite like them. I like these lines going, the pattern of these lines of the rigging and these ropes and chains or whatever crossing the scene. Very effective. Maybe the far boat is just a little bit too tall or a little bit too stubby, so we could stretch that one out a bit. Very nice sky though. Dry brush marks could give us a very good soft edge. That's a lovely effect that you've got in there. Very nice. Good background, harbour wall, beach, yeah, and the the beach here with that softer shadow, not too dark. You've done it in one. Nice and fresh, not overworked, very nice. Well done, Diana. Is it Diana? Diana. Well done, Diana. And Doris. Yeah, it's got a nice sort of misty feel over on the right-hand side, I think. And hopefully that is the effect that you're trying to get, Doris. Certainly I feel that, a little bit of mistiness on the right-hand side. Those boats are very well drawn and painted. Brilliant. Fantastic. Sky, very nice. Those backgrounds, you've managed to sneak in that little further, that more distant headland. Lovely sea. Very fresh, nothing overworked. Limited palette, that blue and the brown. We haven't got that warm feeling of the beach here, but it's a nice colour to that beach that you've got there, Doris. Yeah, I think that is really nice. Well done. Thanks, Doris. And Edward. Oh, look, very dark background. A lot of impact with the contrast with the building. Maybe the background might be just a little bit too dark and or a little bit black, but it's certainly got a lot of impact. And also the sea down here on the left-hand side, the contrast between the headland and the sea. Dark clouds as well. Maybe drag those clouds over the edge of the paper. I'd be tempted to, this lighter bit there, Edward, drag those clouds over that. With the boats are very well drawn. I wouldn't have that lighter edge around the rudder. Maybe just a little bit, perhaps on the top left corner where it might have been touching the light, but not around the other bits. It makes them stand out just a bit too much. And also that little bit of white underneath the hull there. Other than that, yeah, it's got a lot of impact. Boats are very well drawn and painted. Thanks, Edward. And Eileen. Zoom into this one. So Eileen, like a few others, you've gone for slightly smaller boats. We've got more of the beach. Now, Eileen, the boats are very good, but I would try and connect more the side of the boat with the shadow and not have that lighter edge around the bottom of the hull, between the hull and the shadow. And I always tend to do boats, paint the side of the boats first, and then quickly after that, go in with the darker, generally the darker shadow mix, so that I've got that connection between the two. But it's a nice picture. I like this. I'm not sure if this is a shadow over your photo, but I like this sort of darker mark. It's quite effective, really, going across the scene. And a little bit there as well. So I'm not sure if that's the shadow over the photo, but I like it. Yeah, and also with the shadow, so think about the edge of the shadow as well. Perhaps a little bit too steep there on that side. Well done, Eileen. Thank you. And Greg. Yes, I like this. That sky is fantastic. The way that you got the shapes of those clouds, I like that one there. You can feel it going up beyond the paper, and then this one going out there, and then that one going a tiny bit softer as we're going towards the horizon. Now, just be careful, a little bit of overwork in that background. I would say try and keep it simple, big brush, do it all in one. Boats are very good, particularly the nearby boat, very good. Could have a little bit more impact with some greater contrast, a bit more light on the tops of the boats and the top of that cabin, the top of the bow there. But the boats are really well drawn, and I like the beach. It's verging on being a little bit overworked, but I think you got away with it on the beach. It's got a nice feeling of the well, it's very authentic to Sheldon down there. the different colours of the materials and the russets and the browns and the oranges. Yeah, nice one. Isabel. Very nice. I like those trees. They're probably a little bit larger than the photograph. The distant hill was a little bit further back, but I do like the effect that you've got of the softer edge and the feeling of the light coming through the foliage. Lovely. It's a good composition. Very good boats. Yep, excellent. And the colours, I was going to say the values, you've got lots of different values, lights and darks, very good sky. Might be a slight slope on the horizon, perhaps that could be just a little bit more level there, just a tiny bit, but just a small thing. Love that sea and very good beach, yeah. I think it's really nice. Yeah, but I do like those trees. They have a nice effect though. The way that you've got you might have done a little bit of lifting out, might be a tiny bit of wet in wet. Perfect. Great. Thanks, Isabel and Jade. Zoom in a bit. Here we are. Oh, out a bit. There we go. Well, good composition. The boats are good, particularly like this right-hand boat, certainly catching the light. That one is a lot brighter than the distant one, but it works really well. Perhaps it could be a little bit darker on the side facing us, but this boat is fantastic. The detail that you've got in there, the tarpaulin, those ridges like we saw with, I think it was David. Background buildings, they're not so good. I think those background buildings would work better if the rooftops were lighter and then the walls of the house and the background were a little bit darker than the roof, if you see what I mean. Try and avoid the hard edges and too dark of the darkness of those trees in the background. It just tends to bring them a little bit forwards, so we want to try and push them back. That sky, though, is absolutely fantastic. What is very nice is you've got the sort of volume of the clouds so well, particularly in this middle area here, with that hard edge there, that little hard edge there, and that one there. And to a certain extent, that edge there. Very, very nice. Excellent cloud. Well done, Jade. And Jean. Now, I think Jean's photo is a little bit too dark. I bet Jean's painting is a lot brighter than this, but we can see what's going on. You've got a limited palette here, more sort of greens and browns, I would say, just a tiny bit of blue, which is all right. It's nothing wrong with a limited palette. That house there is not quite right with the roof. Maybe that the far edge of the roof needs to be a little bit like that. Other than that, it's good. The boats are brilliant. Very, very nice indeed. Nothing overworked. Very good beach. Lovely shadows. Yeah, well done. Oh, yeah, actually that boat in the distance, that one is very nice as well. Maybe it could have just a little bit of light perhaps on the top of that boat. But very nice. Well done, Jean. And Joanne's a little bit small, the picture here, but we'll zoom in. Trouble with zooming in is you lose the resolution. Right. Well, quite a nice geometric pattern in the clouds there. Maybe your painting was the actual size of it was quite small. It's always a good idea to know the size of the painting. You've got good composition, nice boat. Now, the boats could have some darker shadows coming underneath them, I think. That would be the main thing to change here. And also try and get some softer edges into those clouds, all right? And rather than these dark shapes, just have a gradual transition of a dark to a lighter area by, I don't know whether you pre-wetted the paper, Joanne, but just try and just try and plan your approach a little bit more with that sky. And yeah, get a darker shadow underneath those boats. But those boats are really well drawn and painted. I particularly like this nearby boat. That is superb. Well done, Joanne. Let's zoom back to, yeah, maybe Joanne's was quite a small painting. John Q. Very nice sky. The trees in the background are lovely, not overworked, just the right value. Nice contrast with the roof of the house. Lovely sky though. The way that you've mixed that blue into the, so I guess you've done the darker clouds first, and then you've mixed that blue into it. Very effective. Yeah, mention the background. Boats, right. They're all right as a shape. I would say try and avoid too darker lines around them, just to try and maybe get a mixture of edges in there. But the boats are really good. And perhaps also a little bit of a darker shadow, maybe, for the boats, just to connect them a little bit more with the ground. But you've actually got a little bit of sort of dull light, if you like. We've got a bit of a soft shadow just right underneath the boat. The beach is very nice, and as I mentioned before, just capitalizing on those lighter areas where the paper is showing through and it's on painting. We're creating little darker edges around it, just to create more of the some thin flat stones or whatever on the beach. And joy. Well, it's quite a soft interpretation of the scene, which is Joy's style, I know. Two very good boats, especially the nearby one. Again, very, very nice. Quite soft. Maybe it could be just a little bit darker, Joy. I like the softness that you've got here on the side of the boat, maybe with a little bit of lifting out. That works really well. And also the ropes running from the boats. Maybe there's little bits of seaweed here that's dangling, hanging, like washing on the washing line. That's very effective as well. The background trees, try and make it a little bit more random. It looks too regular, that sort of edge that you've got there. A little bit more effective. I like the left-hand side, but over here, perhaps just a little bit too regular. Maybe make some of those trees a bit larger than a small one, and sort of vary the shape of that edge. Lovely sky, and nice masts as well, where you can where there's the masts are a little bit thick in some areas, then they go thin, and then thicker again. Very, very nice. A little bit of movement in the water, a little reflection of the end of that harbour. Lovely water. Yeah, well done, Joy. Thank you. And Carter. Lots of soft edges with this. It's almost like it's a rainy day, but we've got some light coming through. We've got light coming through on the end of that boat. A little bit of light to the left of the boats. Very, very nice. Yeah, so I guess you might have done a little bit of lifting out maybe with this, or you're working wet in wet, certainly. So two very nice boats, very good boat shapes. There might be a tiny bit of a lean. I'm not sure if it's the angle of your photograph, but there might be a little bit of a lean here downwards. So maybe that water's edge could be a little bit more horizontal, just to... And then maybe it could start up, maybe the top of the harbour could start up just a little bit higher. Like all the detail that you've got there, people on the top of the harbour, and there's this little castle further on down in the woods at the end of the headland. Yeah, I like the way that you've done that building, the cottage, with that light and the shadow just on the left-hand side of the angle of that roof. Good texture on the beach. Yeah, well done, Carter. Nice one. Different effect. Kazim. Yeah, the boats are good. I think the more distant boat might be a little bit too tall, just a tiny bit. But other than that, the boats are really good. Nice sky. You've got the clouds on the right are a little bit better than the ones on the left, in my opinion. Just a little bit more, that soft edge, a little bit more convincing. Nice background, nothing overworked. Simple shape of the combined trees, just creating the impression of a group of trees there on the top of the hill. Very loose way that you've done the harbour wall and the nice warm colour on that beach. I think it's very nice. And that lighter area there coming out from between the headland and the harbour. Yeah, excellent. Well done, Kazim. Thank you. And Kevin. Nice sky. Mixture of edges. The background is good as well. Not so sure they're convincing as shapes of trees, but it's a nice, perhaps there's too many harder edges or funny shapes that we're presenting, like this one here. Maybe just looks a little bit odd, that kind of, those two whiter areas there. These are better over here on that side, Kevin. Nice harbour wall. The boats are very good, especially the nearby one. Very nice indeed. Perhaps the beach is a bit too pink. Could be a little bit more of a yellow in there, or possibly a burnt sienna, something like that, just to make it less pink. But you've got different shades in there, a little bit of blue, coolness, and light as well. It looks a nice, it's got a nice texture about it. Now that boat there, could that boat be maybe just a little bit, just a tiny bit lower perhaps, just so that it sort of sits well on the edge of the beach there before the harbour. Yeah, and I like the effect over here, that mark there. Could be a bush, small tree, something like that. Very effective. Yeah, nice one. Well done, Kevin. Lillian, this is very moody. Let me just zoom in a bit more. There we go. Now, I'm not so sure I like the sky, the shape of those clouds. Maybe that top left cloud there, with the light coming from the right, perhaps it could be a little bit darker there, Lillian. But I do like the lower half of this scene. Those boats are brilliant, this figure, and the different edges that you've got, the different values, the lights and the darks. That figure though is brilliant. It's got movement, it's looking down, it's walking towards us. The figure is just the right size, the head just the right level in relation to the tops of the boats. Fantastic. Yeah, very moody, very atmospheric, and well done for including a close by figure. Adds a little bit more context to it. And the figure from a composition point of view is placed just right on that left-hand side. If Lillian had put it on the right-hand side, there would just be too much on the right-hand side. That figure is in a perfect position. Great figure, well done. Lydia. Oh, quite soft. I do like the boats, particularly this nearby one. The different colours that you've got, that dirty tarpaulin, the weathered feeling on the side of the boat. With the background, now it's the right value, and we've got the impression of a little bit of mist or something beyond the harbour wall. You haven't gone for that, any buildings behind the harbour wall. You kept it nice and simple. Maybe the brush was a little bit too small, and you've gone a tiny bit too detailed with some of these trees here. I would try and keep it a lot simpler. Maybe a little bit like that sort of shape there would be best. That one there, Lydia. Where you've got these horizontal marks, I know you're trying to paint there maybe a pine tree or something like that, but the edge is a little bit too hard, all right? Just a tiny bit. Now, as I say, the boats are brilliant. The surface of the beach, I do like that. Yeah, you've got different colours in there, oranges, pinks, browns. Beautiful. Yeah, we've got the texture of the beach. Just watch some of these rigs, the rigging, the lines, the ropes coming down. Maybe just go with a lost and feel. A bit like you've done these lines that you've got there are super. A painting always benefits from a strong, straight edge. Could be horizontal, could be vertical, could be an angle, but this painting, that really does add to it. It contributes a lot to it. So very good, sharp, straight edges and a lovely boat. Yes. Well done, Lydia. Thank you. And Lynn. I think the boats might be just a tiny bit overworked. The nearby one is good, but the furthest one, maybe there's too many of these dark lines here. And the rudder, maybe that sort of oval shape is not too correct. But other than that, the boats look good. Background, a tiny bit overworked. Sky is very nice though. I like what's going on here. Looks like there's a sort of storm cloud or something like that over on the left-hand side. And then maybe you might have used a little bit of white paint for the surface of the sea. That also works really well also. And the little bits of, I'm not sure what these are. These could be rocks or something out there towards the left-hand side. That works well also. Beach, you've captured the colour really well. That darker, sort of cooler red on the left-hand side, warmer colour, lighter colour up towards the harbour wall. Yeah, very nice. Well done. Thanks, Lynn. And another Lynn. Yes, so you place those boats right in the middle there, which I think works well because we've got the cabins either side of that centre line and then the boat there sort of balanced out with the rooftop of the building behind the harbour. Lovely sky, beautiful sky, nice background. I might have just a few less gaps in the sky there, just a few less gaps in the canopy of those trees. Good sea, good beach. Ease off a little bit on the darker paint, maybe just a little bit too dark in places. Nice shadows though, very nice shadows, and you've got that weathered feeling to those boats. Two very nice boats, brilliant, especially this nearby one. Excellent. Right, next is Nydia. Well, the nearby boat is fantastic. The furthest boat, maybe the cabin is just a little bit too short. Could be a tiny bit longer. All right, a little bit sort of longer like that. So that's the side and then maybe the back of it like that. Just a little bit. Good sky. Perhaps the clouds could be a tiny bit darker. Very good value for the background hills. I actually quite like it's not overworked, but the way that you might have just lifted off very gently in a few places and then put in some darker paint to give it the feeling of those extra values or the darkness towards the base. That works really well. Might be a tiny bit of a slope, is there? No, not too noticeable. I just think there's a little bit of a slope on the horizon and that water's edge. Beach, very good. Nice soft outline to the shadow. Excellent. Well done, Nydia, and Pablo. Well, this is a different interpretation. The boats are very well drawn. We've got a seabird here perched on some object on the beach. Yeah, I like the sky. Maybe you're using quite a small brush. I'm not sure about the light area here, Pablo, but that house is absolutely brilliant. The way that you spent a lot of time doing that house, and it works really well. Yeah, so I'm a little bit unsure what's happening in this area here. There could be a little bit more of some darkness in there. As I say, boats are very good. Could be a little bit, just a tiny bit longer. And the beach, I like the brush marks, but just be careful a tiny bit of overworking. So maybe it's the size of your brush. Perhaps if you used a bigger brush, and maybe just a little bit more water on the brush as well, a little bit more paint on the brush as well, so that you don't show up with these sort of brush marks appearing there. But I do like the style. Those boats in the house, brilliant, and nice inclusion. That's definitely a seabird. Looks like a black-headed tern or a black-headed gull, something like that. And the texture of the plumage as well. Excellent. Well done. Thanks, Pablo. Oh, and the detail on the harbour wall. I've just noticed that. Like a mosaic. Very nice. Very distinctive style. Thanks, Pablo. Ravien. Oh, a nice impact of the blue in the shadows and that blue. Maybe just a little bit too much there, Ravi. But other than that, very nice. Gives a nice dimension to those shadows. Lovely sky. A little bit of warmth in the clouds. Nice edge on those. Nice edge on the sky there. To zoom back out again. Good boats. Very nice boat shape. Yeah. I certainly like the pattern of what we have here with these lines and the shadow of the boat. And a little bit of blue creeping into the sand as well for good measure. Yeah, nice texture on the beach and a nice authentic shape to the edge of the waterline. Thanks, Ravi. Well, I was going to say, I do like that background as well up there. That's a nice effect. Now, these are nice. Those are nice tree shapes, in my opinion. These look as if there's a bit of wind up there on the horizon. They certainly look as if they're capturing the wind. Yeah, well done, Ravi. And Rhonda. Yeah, nice geometric shape to those clouds. Very nice. I would say maybe not draw out the clouds so that we don't have that pencil line showing through. Well, maybe choose a harder pencil that's a little bit lighter on the touch. Also, not going too dark with some of these masks as well. Try and alter or try and make it a little bit lighter and maybe alter some of the thicknesses of them. So maybe a bit too many of these vertical poles and masks and a little bit too dark. Boats are very good though. Nice boat shapes, good shadows coming out. Yeah, and it's certainly your eyes are leading up to this sort of area of the painting. Yeah, well done, Rhonda. Thank you. And Ruth. Now, there's a tiny bit of overworking on the background. I like the sky, though. Very effective sky. I don't think we need, because your more distant headland is so far on the left, I don't think it needs it over there. And also, I would avoid that lighter gap between the distant headland and the nearby headland. Boats they're good. This nearby one, it's difficult to see the back of the boat where it is. I think with the angle that you've got, it's going to be something like that. maybe in the other side of the boat there in the nearby, and then the hull. It's going to be something like that, but it's difficult to make that out. But you've got a lovely texture on the beach. Very nice. Good colour on the beach as well. Excellent. Well done, Ruth. Thank you. And Sally. So you kept it quite light, Sally, on yours. The sky, maybe we could have had a slightly lighter clouds, but the sky is really good and not overworked. The background works really well. Also nice tree shapes. Good boats. The distant boat, good. This boat, this nearby boat, maybe the tarpaulin has to go up, and then it sort of, and then it sort of joins with the cabin. So there isn't that sort of little bit of a dip there. So I would say have a gentle curve up to the cabin, and then it comes down. Don't go too dark on these areas here. What else? I think the beach works really well. Nice bit of light here in the middle foreground, the middle area of that foreground. Shadows maybe could be a tiny bit darker, just a tiny bit. And then I think that lean there is because the photograph was taken on a slight incline. So zoom into that sky again. I like all this, that bit of warmth there creeping in. Yeah, I actually quite like that hard edge as well. It's quite a nice shape to that that sort of slither of light coming into the scene. Well done, Sally. And Sandra. This is almost like a line and wash, this one. Very nice. Those boats are superb. I like the way that you've connected those boats. The hull of the distant boat connecting to the tarpaulin of this nearby boat. Those boats are really well drawn. Background is, like a few others, a little bit overworked. I think is too much. Maybe you used a smaller brush in there, just a little bit too overworked. I would just keep it a simple shape for that background. Sky is fantastic, Sandra. Lovely sky. This lighter cloud here with a hard edge around it, the darker blue, brilliant. Beach, very, very nice. Different textures. You've done a bit of, I think there's been a bit of splattering here with some darker paint, which is just ideal for a beach like this where you've got little tiny stones and shingles on the surface. Maybe that smaller boat, that boat there could be a little bit larger. And that boat there could be a little bit higher in the scene. It looks like it's a little bit, it looks like this boat is on top of it. So I would say, with hindsight, that could be just a little bit higher, maybe on that right-hand side. Well done, Sandra. Saro. Yeah, you've got a lot of impact on the hard edge around those boats. Certainly there's a lot of light catching the front of that boat and the hard edge around those shadows. We've got the feeling of bright light there, emphasized by the light of the rooftop. Lovely clouds. With the clouds, where you've sort of dabbed the paper here, maybe those shapes could be, that's a more convincing shape there and on the right hand side, but these little sort of splodges here, these equal sized splodges, maybe if they were just connected a bit more, that might be a little bit better over there. Nice background though, just the right value, the hint of a distant headland, nice sea, good boats, good boat shapes. Tiny bit of lifting off there, just rough up the edges, give them more of that weathered feel. Yeah, two very nice boats and lovely shadows. Bit of coolness in the shadows, like Ravi did earlier, I think, and a bit of coolness carried through to the beach as well. Maybe this area here, it looks a little bit plain. Perhaps there could be something in there just to fill in that space. Maybe a line going across it, or a line, maybe a line going up. I'm thinking just something to fill in that space in there. It's quite a large area of the painting. Maybe there could be some darker, larger stones or something like that to fill that in. And Sheila, I do like the shape of the clouds you got there, Sheila, with that curve there and that curve there. Nice softness in the sky. Maybe there could be a few harder edges with where the blue meets the clouds. With the distant hill, there's too much of the paper showing through. I would go for a little bit more of a solid approach, that, Sheila. I like this effect though over here, where you might have got that. You might have done a little bit of lifting out maybe. That is very effective indeed. And a little bit of contrast with the darkness. Lovely sea, good harbour. Certainly with that, the way you've done that harbour, you've got the feeling of the old harbour wall. Not so sure about the harbour wall on the right-hand side. I wouldn't try and paint in every single brick. Maybe you could just paint in a few lines in there, Sheila, but not every single joint and line in there. It just makes it a bit too busy. Now the boat shapes are good, but they're a little bit too short. I would stretch them out a bit more, all right? Just stretch them out, make them a little bit longer. And also with the ropes, just make the ropes a tiny bit thinner, and consider also, I'm not sure if I pointed this out to others, but try and introduce maybe a bit of a jagged line to it, so that as the water was receding or whatever, there was a bit of slack on the line. It just creates a slightly more interesting route up to those boats. Nice beach, bit of splattering, and the effect that you've got with watercolor, soft shadow underneath. Yeah, very nice. Susan. Well, it's got a lot of impact here. A lot of colours, yellows and blues. I do like the yellow against the blue. The yellow of the houses, the yellow of this tarpaulin, the blue that you've got there, the impact of these shadows. They're all sort of leading us into the focal point there, or maybe just beyond it with those two rooftops. Nice sky. Background hills, very good. Like Sheila before, a little bit of softness there in a couple of places, 2 or 3 places, very effective. And the way that you've used your brush, you've got the sort of feeling of distant woods and trees over there. Also, what is very good, I'm not sure if you've scraped out the paper, but these white lines here, these dotted lines here, maybe you might have done a little bit of scraping possibly in places. That's also very effective. You've got to be careful. It takes a bit of practice, but you've done that really well. And it adds a bit of sparkle on the top of that harbour wall. And also the straightness of that edge as well is very good. Nice strong edge, helps the composition. Nice beach, lots of colours, dramatic shadows, well done. Boats maybe, yeah, that tarpaulin might be a little bit overworked, and just it needs to be stretched out, it needs to be a little bit longer as well. The background, but the more distant boat, I think that one's all right though. Nice painting, well done, Susan. And next up, Teresa. Oh, Teresa's gone for more of a square dimension for this. Nicely framed. A white frame always does make a good painting even better, and this is very nice. With with those background hills, I would say I would close up some of I would make it more solid. That's what I'm looking for. Make it more solid. So I would have maybe less of those light areas showing through the trees, a bit more like this area here. All right, I think that would work a little bit better with that. Very good boat shapes, particularly this foreground boat. The middle boat, the cabin could be a bit bigger, a bit taller. And where you've got that boat, if that cabin was a bit taller, it would give us a chance to put in a bit more contrast, maybe with the top of the boat, a bit more of a contrast of a light cabin against a darker background, if you see what I mean. Let's zoom back out. Right, nice harbour wall, lovely sea, good beach as well. Again, like the background, I would have maybe less of these lighter areas here. Go for more of the solid approach to these lighter bits I would cover up. And also try and get a softer transition from the boat hull, if I get my words out right, the boat hull to the shadow. There's just a hint of a lighter area there. Okay, so I would go for more of a transition. So it'd be the darker the boat, and then maybe a darker still right at the bottom there, and then coming out a little bit lighter and the soft edge around the edge of the shadows. Well done, Teresa, and well done for going with that square format. Works well. Terry. Well, whereas Teresa's work well with the square, this one works well with a slightly wider feeling to it. Nice clouds. You've gone really light with the headland there in the distance. Works well. See how far that pushes it back. Feels like it's several hundred meters away from us. Very good boats. Nice angle on this boat. Bit of detail with the rivets or something there holding down the tarpaulin. Yeah, I think it's very, very nice. Nice texture on the beach. I would, with the edge down here, Terry, I would take that beach right over the edge. Okay, take it over the edge there, so that we're covering up that sort of lighter patch down the bottom left-hand corner. But other than that, and I do like that soft shadow that you've got. That's an excellent soft shadow around that boat. Well done. Good range of values, good depth in that painting. Excellent. And Teresa. So we had Teresa, now Teresa. Well, it's very loose. I think that boat here, this right-hand boat, is on a little bit of an angle. It's pointing up just a little bit too much. And the tarpaulin needs to, yes, we'd need to address that boat there. But your watercolor technique is brilliant, but maybe the initial drawing of that boat, we just need to concentrate on that a little bit more. The distant boat, though, in compensation, is brilliant. And the background hills, I do like all the different colors that you've got in the hills up there, the woods, the browns, the gray browns, the blues. Just the right value as well. Good sky, very nice sky. Again, like someone before, just be careful with these kind of equal sized blobs. That one there, that one there, that one there, that one there. Do you see what I mean? Try and connect them a little bit more, like you did over here. That's better, and that's better, and that one there. Nice beach, good colours. Yes, I think we just need to address that boat there. All right, and then it would be perfect. Tony, I think we've got a couple of Tonys. Tony D. It's got a nice, clean, bright, fresh look to this. Well done with the boats. Perhaps the shadows of the boats are a little bit too dark, and maybe there could be more tonal more sort of subtle changes of value in the sides of the boats. They're sort of fairly monochrome as regards there's a single value as regards the side of the boat and this boat here. Although they're different colours. That's more of a greyish colour. We've got a bit of warmth coming in there. Maybe a bit more detail, perhaps a bit more detail, particularly on that more distant boat. But it's a nice light feeling to it. I think we can see your reflection. Maybe you glaze this, but it's got a nice frame to it. Maybe you glaze this and we can see your reflection there in action taking a photo. So perhaps we need to, as we look at this, we need to think it's glazed. There might be a little bit of reflection on it. But nice sky. I like the distant hills. Good value to those. Lovely sea. I hear a bit of light, a little shard of light coming through. An excellent beach as well. Yeah. Well done, Tony. And the next Tony, or our last one. I like the colours in this. That sort of turquoise or that sort of cobalt green of that boat. Very authentic. The front of that boat. The buildings. Perhaps the background hills could be a little bit higher in the scene. It's quite low there. Good sky. Although this lighter area here, perhaps that could have a slightly softer edge to it. And you've gone quite light over on the left-hand side there. So I would maybe glaze over that, just make that a little bit darker. I do like the colour of the beach though. That's a gorgeous warmth that you've got. The oranges, the reds, and the ropes leading up. Again, nice strong lines. Good strong, excuse me, good strong vertical mast that you've got, and those straight edges of the ropes. Excellent. Yeah, nice one. So we'll stay on, Tony, just while I describe the next workshop to you, which is going to be, I'm trying to pronounce this, Llangollen in Wales. We're going to be painting the River Dee. Let me just find a photo of it. Here we are. This is the next one if you're up for a challenge. This is, trying again, Llangollen in mid Wales. Beautiful town, quite a large town on the River Dee. Very, very beautiful scene with the town in the distance, and then we're looking along the river. There's these rocks there going down the middle of the river, and over on the right-hand side, some nice shadows coming across the river. We've got some reflections to deal with, maybe some distant figures, complicated roof buildings here. Trying to do the spire of that church, trying to put that in correctly as well. And all of these trees, these lovely trees on the left-hand side of the River Dee. So that's the next one. If you want to sign up for that, go up to crowdcast.io/Tim Wilmot. And we'd all look forward to seeing you up there. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you picked up a tip or two on my interpretation of the attendee paintings. Thanks again, and I'll catch up with you on the next video. Bye-bye.